She puts the wow, yum into words. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie herself on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
Welcome back to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. I'm your host, Tiffany Deku. Here we talk about all the food happenings around Acadiana. If you like food, tune in. You might learn something new. Memorial Day weekend. A lot of you are at home, hopefully by the pool, barbecuing. I'm hoping my dad is in town this weekend or however long. I don't know how long they're going to be in town for. Hoping that he's going to be grilling for me tomorrow, but he's making me Cornish game hens tonight. I just like eating them because I feel like a giant Viking eating them.
I was discussing with you earlier this, my dad used to trip when my mom would bring Cornish game hens home from the store because we had guinea chickens, we had geese, we had ducks, we had everything in the backyard.
Right.
And she would go to the store and buy a fowl and bring it home for us to cook. We had literally and anything that she could want to eat growing in our backyard, and she would go to the store and buy that.
And I mentioned to you, I was like, well, those are pets. And you said, no, they're not.
They are most certainly not pets. My dad would buy us rabbits for Easter, and they would be cute and dyed little different colors and stuff, and he would name them things like sauce piquant or, gravy. Anyone
who's wondering who that voice is, that joining us tonight as guest co-host is Chef Jesse Ryder with the Sizzling Monkey. He's going to be joining us, and he has brought his incredible personality with him. We've been cutting up for an hour now before the show.
I've already been fussed at 3 or 4 times for my colorful language, so we'll try to keep it G-rated.
Hey, you do a good job. I was just a little worried with the amount of language that was flying in here.
She doesn't appreciate how hard it is for us kitchen boys to turn that off and join normal society.
Okay, there we go. So I've been cooking a lot at home, and we were kind of talking about this, that you don't like to dine out either.
I hate eating at restaurants.
And I guess, I can kind of see why your job is cooking for other people in restaurants.
It's the letdown is what it is. It's like, I know how much money they're spending on what they're charging me to eat there, and it just, the ratio just doesn't equal up to me because I cook better at home anyway.
See, for me, it's been trying to eat healthier, and you can monitor what you're putting into the food a lot more when you're cooking it yourself.
That's absolutely true. Anything that a restaurant says is healthy on their menu, they're lying. They're saying that it's healthy. It's just healthier than their other options.
Right. We talked about that last week with Ann Falgu, how I've been eating, like if I do eat out, it'll be something quick at a chain place because the chain places have their nutritional values up online, but you're also trusting that they're measuring everything correctly to what's on the menu. So, the best way to monitor that is to cook at home. And I've been enjoying it. I've gotten into a groove. I find it a challenge to find things that are both vegetarian or vegan and low carb. And I haven't cut meat out. I know you're making this face at me because you're like, what?
Why you gotta say vegetarian or low carb? Why you can't just say, I ate a salad that was healthy?
Well, because I'm trying not to just do salads, and I'm trying to prove that this food doesn't have to be salads.
I hear you.
So for instance, last night when Paul Credo came on the show, we talked about a cauliflower crust pizza, and I haven't attempted that yet. But the other day when I was at Walmart, I found all these low carb breads, and they had this lavash flatbread that was low carb, and it's huge. I was like, how are you going to make a giant sandwich with this bread? But I was like, it's the perfect size for a pizza crust. So I attempted to make a pizza with it last night, made my own marinara. Walmart was out of eggplant, and I was super upset about it, especially when I had went to the farmer's market. Well, I had saw pictures from the farmer's market that morning, and they had eggplant at the farmer's market.
That's actually shocking because the produce at Walmart is terrible, but they usually have everything.
Yeah, right. And I went today, and they actually had eggplant, so I guess they didn't have it stocked. And on that same note, I ended up buying a basil plant because it was much and looked way better than the boxed basil, which I'm probably going to kill it because I'm horrible at keeping plants alive, but I'm really going to try hard.
I was talking last week about how spoiled I was growing up because if you buy a tomato from Albertsons or Walmart.
It's not good.
It tastes like cardboard. It's the same with cucumbers. Most of them, they really just don't have that crisp, you want to say fresh cut grass flavor to it. It's just so crisp and you know, right. The asparagus from the store is just not the same. And then like my whole life growing up, we had all that in the backyard, 2 or 3 types of eggplants. My dad just, you could just throw stuff in the grass. We lived in between a bunch of rice fields. Everything would just spring up, you know? So I had no idea how spoiled I was until I started shopping for my food at Albertsons and Walmart.
Well, my roasted eggplant and garlic pizza turned into spinach and roasted garlic pizza, and it was pretty good. It got real crispy on the outside. The inner portion of the flatbread was a little soggy. That had the most marinara on it. So it's not going to be as durable as a slice of pizza is, but it definitely did give me that pizza satisfaction. You
also said you did like kind of a quick marinara, like a little, like a 1.5, 2 hour one with like the all day marinara. They tend to have more body to them, and they won't necessarily seep into those crusts and bread so much. That's kind of the idea with cooking it all day. So you get rid of some of the excess liquid in it, and you really bind all those ingredients together. But I like those short marinaras. I like quick pastas with grilled chicken and a nice, hour and a half marinara in it. Something that's only got 5 or 6 ingredients.
It was super. I was talking with you about it before the show, like how you make your marinara. Because mine, I just use the crushed tomatoes, but I recommend getting the expensive crushed tomatoes, the Italian imported crushed tomatoes, olive oil, basil. I typically put garlic in it too, but being that I was topping the pizza with garlic, I left it out.
Sissy.
And then did salt, pepper, and an Italian seasoning. And it was good, but it was way better this morning when I had so much left over that I made something called eggs in purgatory. It's named a bunch of different things. Yeah, it's named a bunch of different things, but it's where you take marinara sauce, you put raw egg in it, and then you bake it in the oven. And it's, typically you would want to eat it with a nice crusty bread, but being that I'm trying to stay away from the carbs, I didn't. But it was really good. And I still have some left over, and I'm going to spiralize some zucchini noodles and do like a pasta with it later in the week.
I don't know what y'all are talking about with this bread stuff being bad for you. You know, the basis of like all civilization
is bread. I know.
And
Wars
eggs
have started over bread. I know. And I'm cutting it from my diet as much as I can.
I don't know. I would just get fat and die happy eating good food. So that's kind of what I'm doing anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to be healthy, trying to take the healthy route. We were talking about when we make marinara, I know some people put sugar in it, and I didn't put sugar in mine. And I was asking if you typically put sugar in your marinara.
Like I was telling you earlier, it's like it kind of depends on what I'm cooking with it. Some of my marinaras, like with my chicken, if I'm going to make a chicken spaghetti, I like to put a little sugar in it to help with the balance. The chicken doesn't have a whole lot of, I don't know, je ne sais quoi to manipulate the marinara. Like if I was making a lamb bolognese, the lamb has so much flavor, so much fat in it. It almost has a sweetness to it. And so I really want to let like the ingredients be themselves. So I want the tomato to be its own sweetness. I want to get sweetness from the onion. But with the chicken, you typically, you use like breast meat or like skinless, boneless thighs or something like that. And there's just not all those building blocks for flavor, and there's nothing to battle the acid of the tomato. And so a lot of times it just overwhelms, and you just get this really acidic.
So sometimes sugar, sometimes not, depending on what you're cooking.
That's me. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure somewhere in some, fancy cookbook, they have all kind of reasons why you should or shouldn't do it. But
that's you.
That's
all right, we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we have Shane Seck with Bombo Jerk on. We're going to talk about the food truck, and we're going to talk about Jamaican food. So come back to us. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
Men, if you're like me, you appreciate the feeling of a clean, smooth shave from a quality blade. The sort of shave that cuts clean without the burn. So why are you messing around with generic razors that cost $32 for an 8-pack when you can shave with Harry's high-quality German-engineered blades for half the price? And if saving money and a clean shave isn't incentive enough, Harry's will give you their starter set, complete with a razor, 3 of their world-famous blades and shaving cream for just $15. And shipping is always free. We'll also give you $5 off your first order. Our way of saying thank you for trying us. How are we able to save you all this money and still give you the best shave you'll ever enjoy? By owning the factory that manufactures them. That's how. So go to harrys.com right now and enter code 6262 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 6262.
Okay, we're here at creditrepair.com, the most recognized name in the industry for resolving credit report issues and getting those scores up. With me, I got Aaron. Aaron, there's a lot going on here today.
That's right, Justin. Last year alone, we had over 500,000 calls from people needing help with improving their credit reports.
And no wonder. What you're doing works, right?
It sure does. Our proven process actually can help remove those unfair or inaccurate items from your credit report. And on average, people who have used our service have seen significant improvement in their credit scores month after month.
So when it comes to getting things in life that you really want, like a home, car, or even a new job, the first thing lenders usually look at is credit. So don't let a low credit score hold you back. Call creditrepair.com today. And so what happens when they call?
Well, when you call, we're actually going to give you a free credit report, a free credit score, and a free evaluation to tell you what's going on right over the phone.
Call creditrepair.com at 800-796-4710. That's 800-796-4710. 800-796-4710.
When duty calls, leaving home can be tough, especially when you don't know what the future holds. Picking up where you left off is not always possible, and home can mean many different things. But to a man of higher standards, home always circles back to family, no matter how long the journey. The all-new 2016 GMC Sierra, engineered and built for a man of higher standards, the man that takes action when action is needed, for his family and his community. Stop by your South Louisiana GMC dealership today and get 15% off on select SLT and Denali trucks in stock. Louisiana approved, professional grade. GMC Sierra. South Louisiana GMC dealers would like to thank and welcome home those brave men and women who protect our freedom.
And now, the Lafayette Food Junkie Show, served up medium rare every Sunday night.
Welcome back to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. I'm your host, Tiffany Deku. Joining us as guest co-host tonight is Chef Jesse Ryder with The Sizzling Monkey. And in studio now, we have Shane Seck, who is the owner of Bombo Jerk. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I tried to interview you at Festival, and I was in the process of eating the yummy green curry.
Yes, the Jamaican curry.
And then y'all got super busy.
Yes,
and
we were slammed actually.
It was your first festival. What did you...
First festival, really excited about it. We actually ran out of food at one point.
Oh, wow. That's always a good thing.
Some item, so it was a great experience overall.
Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know what Jamaican food is, what is the easiest way to describe what it is?
Well, the easiest way to describe Jamaican food is a lot of flavor.
Right.
So if you're used to eating food with seasoning, if you can actually cook, just imagine that amplified with bursting, flavor, like tantalizing your taste bud, making you wondering like, oh, what's this? Or, oh, what's that I'm tasting? So it's just bursting with flavor.
And we were talking about before the show that there's a lot of similarities between Jamaican food and Cajun cuisine.
Yes.
The techniques especially. There's a lot of smothering, a lot of marinating, things like that. And they cook a lot of fresh seafood. Y'all cook a ton of fresh seafood.
A lot of fresh seafood. We love seafood. Actually, traditionally, the men cook mostly in Jamaica. And most of the
Cajun
food they
country
cook,
too,
yes.
Yeah.
Most of the food they cook are seafood, and that's because they believe in keeping up with their stamina,
right?
For the ladies.
It's crazy that y'all are like famous for like jerk chicken and jerk seasoning, but realistically, don't y'all cook way more grilled seafood and stuff than
way more, man. Like
it's all citrus and seafood, and it's
way
delicious.
More. Very, very delicious.
And a lot of people think that Cajun cuisine is automatically spicy, and they think that about Jamaican food as well. I wouldn't say it's spicy, more flavorful as with Cajun food.
It's
or is it more spicy?
At, the definition of
what's that? The Scotch
spicy,
bonnet.
You have two definitions. It's either it's too hot to eat, or it's hot with flavor. So it's not a burning sensation per se. It's a lasting sensation where Jamaican food is spicy in the sense that it will stay on your taste buds for a while, you know. So that's the spice behind it.
Where did the idea for the food truck come about?
The idea for the food truck itself came about actually last year, but in terms of the food itself, I grew up cooking,
right?
You know, so I've always loved food. And I mean, once I came to school here in 2005, I pretty much fell in love with the city, you know, and you know how they treat food. Like, unlike most places that I've been, like in America, most of the states I've been to is mostly like up north, you know, so like Boston, you know, Connecticut.
They're not real receptive to new food style.
Yes. So when I came here and, you know, I saw that the people here were reacting, like, especially my friends, you know, from school that were from here, they were reacting the same way, you know, as if, you know, as we would, you know, actually like with the food. I see their cooking techniques and the styles are really, really similar. So I was like, well, maybe there's something here. So...
Well, you end up at 4 or 5 backyard barbecues, and you end up being the cook all 4 or 5 times, and then
exactly.
you start putting things together.
So I mean, the food truck itself, it came out of the concept of me, because I had the actual restaurant concept before, you know, like, you know, implementing a restaurant, like a Jamaican restaurant here in Lafayette from before. But the food truck itself was like a safe way to actually introduce it to the people.
And a lot of people have that idea with food trucks too, to kind of
fill it out,
and then, you know, go from a brick and mortar from there. And your goal primarily is to become a brick and mortar.
Correct.
Yeah. So how has Lafayette taken to the food truck?
They're taking it really, really well. I mean, we have people that actually come and, you know, hug me at times and say, hey, this is so good. You know, they're actually from here, you know,
right.
Like, it's different, but it's almost like some of them would say to me, like, it's different, but they feel it feels like it's a home, you know, it's home. So, you know, that's actually a really, really good thing, you know, and I mean, Cajun food is known, you know, nationwide and, you know, even worldwide. So that's a really good thing.
I think the first thing that I had off of the truck was like a plate lunch, essentially. And it had the rice and the pigeon peas, which I really liked. And there was also, I don't know what it was called, but it reminded me of hot water cornbread.
Yes, that's called the festival bread.
Festival bread?
Yes,
okay.
Festival.
So how is that prepared?
So that in itself, it's actually like cornbread.
Okay.
So it's like cornbread, and it's done in a similar fashion to beignet. But at the same time, it has like a hint of vanilla and like a slight
There's
of
like
coconut
slight
milk.
sweetness to it.
And sweetness.
Yeah, it reminded me of hot water cornbread, which we don't have a lot here. And I think it's more in Mississippi and other parts of the South that they have it, where it's just they take the cornbread and instead of baking it, they drop it in hot oil and it fries like that.
It comes up.
It's almost like a dumpling.
Yes, it's like a dumpling essentially.
And it's super salty. That one was it was a little sweeter. And then you eat it a lot with vegetables. My family made it a lot growing up, but people around here don't know what I'm talking about when I say it. Have you heard of that before, Jesse?
I've never heard it called, what did you just call it? Hot water cornbread or nothing. But I've heard of people mixing sweet potatoes with their cornbread, like baked sweet potatoes, and dropping them as dumplings. And like putting a little bit of vanilla in it and a little bit of sugar, but also a little bit of cayenne. And it's kind of like it could be a dessert, but it could also be an appetizer, depending on what you serve with it, you know, or how it's prepared. So there's some similarities to that. But you're right about Louisiana people. Their cornbread is pretty much just like a savory thing, you know. We don't really. When we were young, the day after you made cornbread, you would mix milk and sugar with it and eat it out of a cup. My dad does that all
the time.
You know what I'm saying?
Does that all the time.
But my dad would also take the bottom inch of the rice pot and scrape that stuff up and make little rice cakes and put milk and sugar with that too. I mean, I think that's just what Cajun people do. They take the leftovers and mix it with.
And you know, speaking of that, it's very ironic that you said that, because one customer that I had, the rice that we actually cook, that's infused with coconut milk. He said that it reminds him of that. Yeah. You know.
They call it something different every 12 or 15 miles north that you drive, but I think that, what do you call that? Oh, he used to call it the gratin at the bottom of the rice pot, but that's just the burnt stuff at the bottom of any pot, you know, from where we are. Some people call it a gratin, the gravy or the little bits or whatever that sticks to the bottom of the pot, but he would call that a rice gratin, and he would make that in the mornings.
Wow.
Especially if we were at the camp and we cooked the rice in the big black pot, because it would make such a nice even layer at the bottom that was almost burnt, but not quite burnt. You had all this fresh, wonderful, fluffy rice on top, and then you'd have this layer at the bottom, and you could cut it into squares and make some nice little breakfast things with it.
Nice.
So we were talking about the curry that you had on the truck for festival. Traditionally in Jamaica is made with goat.
Yes,
and we were talking about if you were going to introduce goat on the truck, and you said you'd like to, but goat isn't something that is normally
it's not common
eaten
here.
right?
And I've never actually been to a restaurant where they had goat here, and I've been to several restaurants. Pretty much, maybe all of the restaurants. Sometimes they'll have it
as a special, because I told you the only time I've ever had it was at Taco Sisters, like 3 years ago, and they've had it before since, but as a special every now and then they do a goat jerk chicken goat taco, and it was good, and I liked it, but it's not something that you see a lot in Cajun country. No.
I was saying one of my friends had hit me up earlier this week and asked me how to cook. It was barbado, and that's it's a goat. It's like a big game goat that they raise they hunt it out in like Colorado and like North Texas and stuff, and it's not quite like a backyard goat, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's like a wild goat, but then still they're raised on ranches, so they pretty much it's almost like a farm raised animal. But we never ate goat growing up. So when I started working in like New York kitchens and stuff, and we had that on the menu and things of this nature, and I started having to mess with goat and lamb, it was super extreme for us. Like that was way outside of my boundaries of comfort. Like they threw a mahi-mahi in front of me. I filleted that sucker with no problem. Then I started having to break down goat, and it just looked different to me. I mean,
goat is delicate preparing it, because in Jamaica we use every aspect of the goat, even the head.
And if you think about it, we do that with the pig here.
Well, and just here, the meats that we use in Louisiana tend to have way more layers of fat in between the sections of meat.
And goat doesn't have a lot of fat.
No, man, it's an ultra lean animal, and it's you would think it would be comparative to the leanness of like venison, but it's just different. It's just its own different thing, And so it was super outside of my comfort zone.
It's tedious to prepare.
So and you said that y'all don't typically eat it a lot. Like it's not.
No, we don't eat it a lot.
It's a special occasion
it's like special
of food there too, because it takes so long to prepare it, right? And you said that they have a lot of goats, but I mean, a goat doesn't produce a lot of offspring at one time, so it's not like you have tons of goats.
Right, a chicken can make 12 chickens in a month.
Right.
A goat make one, probably one or two.
Every couple months. Yeah, huh? That's crazy.
So in Jamaica, the soup that you were describing that uses all parts of that, is that more popular, or like what's the most popular way to make goat?
Well, I mean that's actually one of the most popular way to make it.
In the soup,
or
either curry it, or the soup is called manish. It's called manish water.
Right.
Yeah. So
I want to try it.
And usually that's prepared with the meat and the actual head. So they boil the head in the soup itself. Yeah. So everything is boiled out.
Okay, we are going to take another break, and when we come back, we have more with Shane. So come back to us. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPAL.
I think it will also protect your identity. But what you may not realize is that some free credit monitoring services feel free to sell your personal information. And that's a big price to pay. At LifeLock, we would never, ever sell your personal information. Instead, we help to protect you from identity theft by using proprietary technology to detect and alert you to a wide range of potential threats. And in the event that we discover a problem, we have a team of U.S.-based specialists who will work to resolve it. Of course, no one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but LifeLock helps to protect you without selling your information. Remember, free credit monitoring can cost you your personal information. LifeLock memberships start at just $9.99 a month plus applicable taxes. And now you can get 10% off a LifeLock membership. Go to LifeLock.com and enter promo code NEWS. LifeLock.
Here's a tip from Terrio Family Dental.
In order to achieve a healthy smile, it's important to use proper cleaning equipment. Use fluoride toothpaste for cavity prevention and a soft bristle brush that fits your mouth comfortably. Consider an electric or battery-operated toothbrush if you have arthritis or other problems that make it difficult to brush effectively. With the correct dental tools, it's easy to maintain a happy, healthy smile.
For more tips and advice from Terrio Family Dental, visit this Town Square Media radio station's website.
You know you need to do it, and you need to do it at least twice a year. You owe it to yourself. A checkup at Terrio Family Dental Care. Come in and be catered by the professional staff who offers the highest level of dental care available in a warm and comforting environment. From a simple quick checkup to providing you with a crown in a day. Trust the dental professionals at Terrio Family Dental on Rue Louis XIV just off Colley Saloon. Terrio Family Dental Care. Visit online at crowninaday.com.
The first big holiday weekend of the summer, of course, Memorial Day, and we hope you're having a great weekend, and thank you to those who have served and lost their life for us to enjoy what we do and have a great life here. All Moss Motors locations today are closed. We're enjoying time with our families today. Memorial Day savings, though, will continue tomorrow at all Moss Motors stores. Look for the big white tents right in front of the showroom. You're free to roam today at any one of our locations. Look, we've got clearly marked prices on the windshield. It's right there. You can also go online and check out the savings. With this Memorial Day sale, over 700 vehicles, new and used. New Honda, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, certified pre-owned Honda, BMW, Mercedes-Benz. Our superstore of used cars located at the corner of Surrey and the Thruway. Everything, everyone, every lot, every location, big Memorial Day savings. In fact, you can check out the savings now at mossisboss.com.
The best tasting radio show in all of South Louisiana. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
Welcome back to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. I'm your host, Tiffany Deku. Joining us as guest co-host is Chef Jesse Ryder with Sizzling Monkey. And we've been talking with Shane Seck with Bombo Jerk about Jamaican food. I want to give a couple of shout outs real quick. Just a reminder, the World Street Food event is happening next Saturday at the Warehouse downtown. For $50, you can sample street foods from around the world by different Lafayette chefs. Funny enough, Zach Doey's, who used to be co-host on the show, is doing a jerk chicken for that event. Yeah, and it goes to help town folk, and it's to raise funds for the Victory Garden. So tickets are still available for that. I believe kids get in free, so it is kid friendly. If you guys want to go get tickets for that. And then also we want to give a shout out to Chanel Gaudet, who is from Lafayette, but she's been in New Orleans, and she was just awarded the James Beard Grant for Women in Culinary Leadership. She's on her way to Chicago right now to do that. So that's pretty cool. Do you know Chanel?
Not really. No, I don't think I've ever really cross paths with her.
She was at Village Cafe, and then I believe she was at Bread and Circus for a little bit. And
Facebook tells me that we should be friends all the time.
Probably so. I'm sure y'all have numerous friends in common. So that's pretty cool. All right, we were talking about sides in Jamaican and Cajun cuisine being just as important as the main event. And I was talking about...
Well, we were talking about the similarities between, the cooking styles between Jamaican and like Cajun and Creole and whatever. And all I said was like, in a lot of America, especially like, some of the adapted cooking that they've taken from other parts of the world, they don't focus as heavily on the sides. And you can ask any one of my friends from when I was growing up, the corn mac choux was the main event. The chicken sauce piquant or whatever, that's just what we were filling the plate with. But, the side dishes was just as important, if not more important, than what you were cooking in the pot,
Most definitely.
And I remember vividly when I was up in New York that the Jamaicans up there, they took great pride in all aspects of what they were cooking. Yes. From the salad and the salad dressing all the way up to the whatever curry or whatever they were making. And that's a characteristic of the style of cooking that we share.
Yeah, man. Even something as simple as just the rice itself, because we don't cook rice normal. Everything that we're doing is going to have some flavor to it. So as Jesse is saying, the sides are very, very important. Just as important as the protein in the meal.
I was asking about pigeon peas, what exactly that was.
A pigeon pea is essentially, it's a petit pois. It's a sweet pea. But the way they prepare it, like, there's like a sweet and a savory way to cook, petit pois down south. You either make them with a little bit of sugar and butter, or you make them with a little bit of bacon and onions. And that's the two ways that you go. But the way that they prepare pigeon peas down there, it's something that is the whole entire, like all the islands are in that whole area. They have like a similar, like for whatever reason, they don't interact very much with each other, but they're this petit pois, these pigeon peas they make, they are universally similar and delicious. And I don't know what they put in them. I used to try to figure out what Joel was doing to it all the time when I was up in New York, and I had no idea he had this very, very sneaky way of seasoning his food without anyone knowing what he was doing.
Are you going to let us in on the secret of your pigeon peas?
Of their
to him is probably just like it's just how he cooks them. That's the problem with it.
We grew up doing it. So it's something that is like of the norm.
Right.
It only became a secret per se when I realized that other people, like whenever I came here, for instance. It made a difference because, it bring out that essence in the food.
Because you didn't realize that you were going to sell so many sides of peas because they were that good. It makes a big difference over here, like your side dishes. It really, really does. People here are super critical of that because that's the culture they were raised in. Your coleslaw has got to be good. Your corn mashu's got to be good around here. Your rice is very plain. All we do is salt the rice over here. That's all we do to it. But it has to be right. And
there's an art. And if you don't make rice right, you will get made fun of severely. I've seen it happen.
The first week that I worked at the Blue Dog Cafe 15, 16 years ago, whatever, there was an older lady in there, and she asked me if I knew how to cook rice. And I looked at the rice cooker on the table. I said, well, yeah, I can cook rice. And she said, no, can you cook rice? And she pointed to the 6-burner. And that's how I got my clout. I walked up, I grabbed the pot, I put some rice in it. You measure the water 1 knuckle above where the rice is. You sprinkle some salt in it. Bam.
Fluff. Nice.
But not everybody can do that.
No,
you know what I'm saying? That's something it's embedded into, a whole lifetime of cutting onions and cooking rice for your momo,
Right.
Speaking of rice, that's one of my earliest memory, cooking, as early as 7 years old.
Wow.
Yes. That was one of my favorite things to cook, which was rice. I can remember distinctively. It was rice, and we used to have these mackerel in these tins that we would use, and it would make like a tomato sauce. So we call it rice and mackerel. So I've been cooking since a very, very early.
It's funny you mentioned that. rice and scrambled eggs is like my earliest things that I remember cooking, and it's because I used to mess them up so terribly bad. Like I had a very, very hard time with cooking rice in a rice cooker when I was young. I don't know why.
But on the pot. On the stove.
On the stove, it's very easy. You just
I would actually mess up rice in a rice cooker.
That's what I'm saying. Because if you get it half a cup off in a rice cooker, you're screwed. Yeah. But half a cup off in the pot, if you adjust the temperature, you put a lid on it, you steam it a little bit, you're good.
That's it.
It's just kind of like reading the water of the ocean or something, like an old sailor or something.
Who taught you to cook?
No one really.
You kind of taught yourself?
It's a mere factor of just observation growing up. Because as I said, traditionally, most of the men cook in Jamaica. So as a boy growing up around, like your grandfather, your uncles, all of your older cousins, the males, they're always cooking. So I'm always by the fireside watching them cooking, or like on the counter sitting them.
And there's always something they don't want to do that they can make you do. You can go peel something or cut something, and that's how.
So Jesse, over time it became something you assimilate.
Jesse was telling us before the show that he's a chef, but whenever he goes home, they only allow him to chop onions.
Other people call me the chef. I don't call myself that, but. Still, I ran some pretty prestigious establishments, and when I go back to the camp, Dad and them still make me cut onions and chop up sausage for the gravy and stuff, and it's normal for them because they all have 40 years of experience on me, and to me, I'm almost hurt by that because it's like, man, I've run some some pretty boss places, and all I get to do is cut the onions. They don't even let me stir the pot.
Oh my God.
We were also talking about.
Sometimes I get to barbecue for lunch, but that's about it.
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
We were talking about too that Jamaica is kind of the heartbeat of the Caribbean, and
most definitely
all of the other islands around it have
influence them in
influence.
food, the music, everything.
And they're jealous.
Yes, they do act jealous sometimes.
Oh, it's absolutely, it's true.
What have been the best sellers on the food truck?
On the truck itself, since we have a basic layout in terms of the menu itself, the plate, of course, is our number one seller.
I think it's nice because you can try a lot of different things.
So you're trying a combination of the rice with the coconut milk and the beans or peas. You're trying the bread itself, which is that's a traditional, is a Jamaican bread. You're trying the jerk chicken, or the jerk pork. And you're also trying the way in which we actually make salads. So in terms of the dressing, we use a lot of vinegar, base. So here they would call it vinaigrette, but we have several ways of making different type of salad dressing. So that's the perfect way to actually get your taste bud tuned into how we
on all those islands, they make dressings per salad, not they don't make big batches of it. You know what I'm saying? As they're mixing up a salad, they're twisting in some orange and they're throwing a little oil in there and a little salt and pepper.
We're always doing everything fresh. So that's why most of the food that comes off of the truck is always fresh, and it's very fresh, yeah.
And how does Jamaican curry differ from Indian or Thai curries?
Okay, well, Jamaican curry is very, very different because some of the spices the Indians use, India has influence in Jamaica. I mean, that's where the curry actually came from. But Jamaica have a tendency of adapting and taking something that is good and eventually just make it better. I mean, nothing.
Hey, you don't have to be coy about it. It's true.
So what we did was we took out all of that strong overpowering
coriander.
Yes, coriander and all of that stuff. So we took all those stuff in and we added our spices, and we kept one of the main the main content of curry is turmeric, right? So turmeric is where you get the color. Most of the smell and the flavor itself you get from the turmeric. So when you start to add the spices, that's where it can actually go extremely wild, or it can be something that's really nice. So that's what we did. We took out the extra spices and then put ours in.
I loved it during festival because it was different than what it wasn't deep fried this or that.
And it's very
onion rings.
It was fresh and it was nice, and it was something different at festival. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like that's actually going to take off here. We decided to introduce it for the first. I mean, festival was the first time we introduced it to the market here, and everyone really, really loved it.
That's brave. That's brave. That's tough competition out there for festival. I give kudos to you.
Well, Shane, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And you guys can follow him on Facebook at Bombo Jerk to see where they are day to day, and go check out this food as well. All right, we are going to take another break, and when we come back, we have more with Jesse Ryder. So come back to us. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
You've heard of Don Buys, but maybe you're not exactly sure what we do. Well, it's pretty simple. At Don Buys, we buy cars, trucks, Jeeps, campers, ATVs, trailers, motorcycles, golf carts, and entire commercial fleets. Basically, if it has wheels, we'll buy it and give you top dollar for it. Why take all the time and aggravation of trying to sell your car on your own when at Don Buys, we'll get you the most for your vehicle, even if it's not paid off. And the process couldn't be more simple. Go to donbuys.com. Fill out the online form, and we'll give you a quote. Then drive over to one of our 5 convenient locations and get cash on the spot. You've heard the saying, easy as pie? This is easier because there's no cleanup, just cold, hard cash. Let's review. You have a car you've been thinking of selling. You can try and do it yourself, which can take weeks. Or you can go to Don Buys, where you'll get a good deal for your car. The process is simple, and you get cash on the spot. DonBuys.com. Hey, it's easier than pie.
Hey, folks, Memorial Day is coming up. It's our chance to honor those who have served our country. And my good friends at Mahindra Tractors are stepping up for the third year in a row with the Mahindra Military Salute giveaway. This year is special because Mahindra is giving away their all-new utility vehicle, the Impact XTV 750S Camo Edition. The Mahindra Impact will go to someone special who is active duty or a veteran of the U.S. military. To nominate somebody, go to rushlimbaugh.com. Look for the Mahindra Military Salute giveaway. My thanks to Mahindra, makers of the world's #1 selling tractor. And God bless all of you who protect our freedom.
No purchase necessary. Void in Alaska, Hawaii, and where prohibited. Open to contiguous U.S. residents 18 and over who are active duty or a veteran of the U.S. military. Sweepstakes ends at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Time, May 29, 2016. Take advantage of rock-bottom prices and test drive a Mahindra today at Long Lene Tractor in Abbeville or call 337-893-1476. That's 337-893-1476.
It's the Cajun Heartland State Fair.
The 28th Annual Cajun Heartland State Fair, now through June 5th at the Cajun Dome. Presented by Cox Communications and Coca-Cola. See the official return of live music entertainment on the Beer Garden stage, featuring artists like Nathan and the Zydeco Cha-Chas, 337 Band, Hunter DeBlanc, Blaze and Saddles, Ken Holloway, Kylie Fry, Mike Dean, and Dustin Saunier. You can even compete for prizes in the Hot 1079 lip sync battles on Memorial Day. Enjoy the free Cox Communications Inflatable Park featuring Jumpin' Jack's Jumps, Squeal on the Crazy Mouse Roller Coaster, Mega Drop, the Whitewater Flume, and many more rides on the Midway. Explore the Kids Corner for family entertainment. The 28th Annual Cajun Heartland State Fair.
The Cajun Heartland State Fair. Go,
Now through June 5th at the Cajun Dome. Go to CajunDome.com for event times and ride specials.
From Boudin to the best burgers Acadiana has to offer, it's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
Welcome back to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. I'm your host, Tiffany Deku, and joining us as guest co-host is always one of my favorite guest co-hosts, Chef Jessie Ryder with Sizzling Monkey, who is laughing at my intros.
Because she's trying to butter me up with all her sweet talk now.
Oh, okay.
After harassing me about my, colorful language earlier.
Hey, you did a good job. I'm very proud. I was just a little worried because I felt like you were using a lot more profanity than normal. And I was worried that we were going to be going into the show that way.
He sat me in a small room with a fellow chef. What did you expect?
That was very interesting. I loved that he came on the show. And I want that goat soup. I really do. It sounds yummy to me. I want goat curry. In fact, somebody is listening to the show. We'll give him a quick shout out, Blake Campora, who just said that he had goat curry this past Wednesday in Ocho Rios. So there you go, tying it all together. I'm magical that way and magically knew that was happening.
Connecting universes.
Right. So I went to Pete's for the first time since it reopened, and I have not eaten at Pete's. I've only eaten there once before it closed. I didn't eat there when it reopened for a short time. Now the team that owns Social and Charlie G's owns Pete's now. Happened to go during women's softball playoffs, and it was packed.
I'm sure.
It was so packed in there. I was really shocked that there was that many people in there. So it was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Innovative Cajun chef. He has a lot of really unique twists on things, and he's gonna do a lot of special things with what used to be a really bland Pete's menu. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, it was just really you just went to get a big Pete and a beer. And now they have all these crazy wraps and all this.
Right. So funny enough, I did not get a burger when I was there. I got the pimento cheese BLT, which I feel like that's Social's influence on the menu.
I don't know.
It wasn't bad. I kind of wish that it had a fried egg on it, though. And I'm sure that was an option. And
I think you would put a fried egg on just about anything.
Pretty much. That's kind of my style.
If you were a squirrel, you'd put a fried egg on your pine cone. So
there you go. And we were talking about that I love the onion rings so much because they were thin, and you were saying that you hate onion rings.
I hate making onion rings, and so does almost any other line cook who's ever existed, except for maybe, the people that open up a frozen bag of them and drop them in the fryer.
And these were homemade thin deliciousness with ranch dressing to dip it in. It was really good. They also have a chili dog on the menu that I wish that I would have gotten, but I was told that it was really messy. But I think next time, I was wearing a white dress too, so I was like, let's not chance it.
It's funny. I was looking for an opportunity to give you a hard time about onion rings when Shane was talking, because I bet you there's no onion rings on Shane's Jamaican menu.
This is true. I'm sure they don't eat onion rings in Jamaican cuisine.
Probably not.
But
too much.
That doesn't take away from my love of onion rings, and it's hard to find a good thin, crispy onion ring. I like them thin. I don't like the thick onion rings, and I'm sure the thin ones are harder to make, or are they easier?
I don't know. I find that the thin ones are a little easier to make.
Really?
But that's just me.
Because you don't have to bread.
That's like saying,
every individual one. You could just like mass put them in there, because they're kind of, when they're thin like that, they're kind of served in like a loaf.
Yeah, but the big ones, like they stick together in a really funny way when you're battering them, and it creates dead spots in your egg wash where like your egg wash doesn't give you complete coverage of the O-ring. So when you put flour on it, it doesn't like make a solid like uniform shell, and so then all the flour battering wants to come off in the fryer, and it's one of those things that you don't know you messed up until you're about to pull them out the fryer to serve them. So then you have to make them again, and you got the chef yelling at you down the line because your onion rings aren't up, and it just creates way more turmoil than one little food junkie lady loving them is worth, I believe.
Okay. Well, I'm going to keep ordering my onion rings whenever I see them, how I like them on a menu.
Hey, listen, get your onion rings, and I hope people continue to cook them. But if I ever own my own restaurant,
you will not have onion rings on the menu.
I'm going to open it next door to a place where I can tell the customers they can go across the street and buy their onion rings.
There you go. Or you can just buy them frozen.
No way. That's terrible.
No frozen onion rings in Jesse Ryder's
No frozen
kitchen.
onion rings and no frozen meat pies.
There you go. You were telling me before the show that there's apparently a turtle meat shortage.
Yes, actually, it's extremely hard to find turtle meat on the seafood market right now. And when you do, it's extremely high priced. And a bunch of my buddies have been bugging me because they all want to go drop turtle traps now. Everyone that ever puts a cricket on a line and fishes in a big lake is like, man, there's turtles everywhere. How we could be out of turtles?
Is it the same kind of turtles that you would eat?
Yeah and no. Like when you buy a pack of turtle from the store, you don't know what's in that pack. They just tell you it's turtle meat, Which brings me
to something that I was told about turtle soup in restaurants, that a lot of times it's not actually turtle that you're eating, it's veal.
Alligator in most places, but that's just because turtle meat is just extremely overpriced and extremely hard to find. And
those poor turtles.
No, c'est pas. It's not poor turtles. They're all part of a food chain. We're all part of a food chain.
Right, I get it, and I know, but I feel like they're just hanging out on a log.
What are tuna doing? Tuna are just swimming around in the middle of the ocean,
Is it more snapping turtles that you would eat?
If it was me, I would be trying to get soft shells and snapping turtles. But the real money's with those red-eared sliders. There's way less meat on them per turtle, but you can get so many more. And the actual quality of the meat isn't really that much less than the snapping turtle or the loggerheads or soft shells, but the amount that you get per turtle is just not there. And the thing with like soft shells and snappers, you can only carry one per person per boat. And those red-eared sliders, you can carry a bucket full of them, I believe. I mean, you can bring as many as you want in, so they're more of a nuisance than anything. It's such a difficult meat to prepare. Like, it's so incredibly hard to clean turtles. Even the most aggravating of like alligators and all these other crazy reptiles we clean, they've come up with all these awesome little tricks on how to make it easy. A turtle is still not easy. There's no trick to it. I mean, you just got to go slow, take your time.
It's hard too.
It's a difficult process. It takes a couple tools. You have to either have a saw or a knife and a hammer that you don't care about the knife. And, you know, you have to whack away at some things and then go very delicately through some parts. And it's just.
And it's not a lot of meat.
And it's not a lot of meat unless you catch a big one.
Kind of like crabs, where it's a lot of work and not a lot of meat.
Truth.
Yeah.
But crabs, at least there's some techniques that can make that a little easier. A turtle's just a turtle. It's just tough. But it's the reward that's there, you know? But, yeah, the shard is just causing a lot of people to use alligator in their soups and things like that. But that's a trick that they've been using for a long time. But now they're using it because they have to, and that's scary.
Wow, I learned something new tonight about turtles. We're looking at an article before the show as well. Is a culinary degree actually worth it? It's something that we've kind of talked about throughout the history of the show, and you were like, no. And this article was saying that it doesn't make that much difference price wise either. They gave a little graph. I'm trying to get to my computer so I can see it. They gave a little graph that shows that executive chefs with a high school diploma made on average about $53,000 a year. Associate degree only made $900 more, and bachelors made $59,000 a year. So it only made like a $6,000 difference on average.
You know, the problem is like if you go to school, you're trying to get the same jobs that these guys are getting out of high school, but they have 4 years of line experience on your 4 years of books. And I don't know, not everybody can translate the classroom to the kitchen. You know, it's like you can't always take what's happening in the weight room and put it on the field. In sports, it's similar with cooking. You can't always just, you know, go to a classroom and you know, study a bunch of definitions and then turn that into good food. Some people do, and they use their degrees to get, you know, really great positions because they have those degrees and you know, they excel. But most of the time, and this is my experience, is the people who have those, you know, 4-year bachelors and stuff, they're getting the same jobs. They're applying for the same jobs as people who have 6 and 7 and 8 years of line experience.
And the experience is going to come before the degree.
I mean, in a lot of places it will.
Yeah.
You know, in a lot of places it will.
From pretty much all the chefs that have come on the show, they've kind of said the same thing too. I mean, you learn so much more.
Well, you just got to think about how many people.
And you're not leaving in debt either.
How many people go to, you know, college and get a general studies degree, or they get a biology degree, and all it basically is a 4-year degree that says you know how to study and take tests.
Yeah.
You know, which is great. I'm not trying to belittle that. I'm sure that sounded really snotty when I just said it. But in the cooking world, being able to study and take tests does not make beurre blanc, you know?
Right.
And so, anyway, to basically wrap it up is just, you know, I found in my experience that the people who have wasted their money on school could have wasted their money on good knives and good chef pants and gone to work.
There you go. That's our show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Join us next week, Sunday at 6 p.m. This has been Tiffany Deku on News Talk 96.5 KPEL, and this has been the Lafayette Food Junkie Show. Thanks for listening, and as always, happy eating, Acadiana.